taking his Father's house with him. As Jesus returned from this Passover as a 12-year-old boy, listening to his parents who were filled with great anxiety about where Jesus might be. As Jesus left the temple in Jerusalem and traveled back to Nazareth, he brought his Father's house with him, and we should do the same. We know and believe that we are the domestic church, children of God, as St. John's letter so beautifully reminds us. And what we do here in our beautiful church, in many ways, needs to be replicated in our home. That what happens in our home with formation and prayer and devotion then is nourished as we come back here to church. And there is this exchange between taking what we do here and bringing it home as Jesus did, and then take what we do at home and bring it here. The concerns and cares that we have, that we place at the foot of the altar each and every day. As I was reflecting on this Feast of the Holy Family and the ministry that we accomplish here at St. Joseph Parish, I was struck by the quote that's on the vocation poster that's hanging in the window of the church gathering area there. And there's one in the sacristy as well. And there's one in the church office, so we're always praying for vocations. And this quote, I'm going to read it from this little card because I don't want to misquote now St. John Paul II, but it's very beautiful, and I would like us to reflect on it today. It says, "The family who is open to transcendent values becomes the primary and most excellent seedbed of vocations." I'm going to read it again. "The family who is open to transcendent values becomes the primary and most excellent seedbed of vocations." And I dare to say that it's not just religious vocations that the Holy Father might be referring to, even though that is the context in which this quote is being used, but really the vocation as a Christian, whether we are a single person, whether we are married and perhaps unable to have children, or we find ourselves widowed or married with children, no matter where we are in our lives, we in our baptism, the sacrament that put us back into relationship as children of God, needs to be nourished at home, in the family. And I know for certain that my family was a place of spiritual nourishment for me and my siblings and my cousins growing up. That it wasn't something that we necessarily talked about every day, but the values that were placed in our hearts, the way that John Paul II refers to them as transcendent values, values that aren't coming from earth, but rather from heaven, about telling the truth and doing the right thing, treating others like we wanted to be treated, practicing our faith, doing works of service for others, regardless of what it was that we were encouraged to do, not only by my parents, but my aunts and uncles and my grandparents on both sides of my family, was a source of nourishment and strength for our family. And each of my siblings and I share in different vocations. You know, obviously I'm a priest and my siblings are married with children, but each of us are called to nurture that faith that we have been given. And just as Jesus took what he learned and taught in that temple as a 12-year-old boy back to his home, I mean, like, what mother would not like this? And he went down with them came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. My mother relished the day when I was obedient to her, let me tell you. And Jesus advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and man. One of the things that we've been working on here at St. Joseph Parish since we were forming our vision statement to take us from our 70th anniversary to our 75th, it's our vision and action plan, is to increased encounters and accompaniment. So part of that process was to form communio groups, so these small Christian communities to, again, to nurture faith in a different way, in a smaller context where this little community could offer accompaniment. So then you begin to share more with them, ask them to pray for you when there's difficulties. There's a kind of mutual support that happens in those small Christian communities that we call communio. But also, we're trying to help parents to form their children in the ways of faith. At baptism, there's a question that I ask parents, and they always say yes to it, of course, and when they profess the creed, are you ready to hand on this faith that you have professed here with your children today? And then later, at the end of the ceremony, there's a prayer of blessing over the parents, and it reminds them that they are to be the first and best teachers of their children in the ways of faith. The thing that occurred to us as a staff as we were praying about what to do is that oftentimes I believe we're asking parents to do something that they don't have the right equipment to do. They don't have the right tool set. They don't know what it means to hand on their faith to their children. The family, that life is very different than mine growing up. So a group of us went to study Ignatian spirituality so we could offer spiritual direction for people, and that process continues. In that book, Life is Messy, there's a list of things that we're inviting parents and including young parents to do, like Exodus 90 that'll start in September, a companion program for women called Living with Purpose. We're working on a day, like 3 or 4 hours of recollection for women to come together sometime. We're still kind of in the works of that, offering Ignatian spiritual exercises in different formats for Lent and longer experiences for those who are interested with individual direction now that some of us have been trained to do so. And that list continues to grow because in order for us to hand on our faith in our home, we have to have it first. And it's not just something that we do unreflected upon, but it really is about knowing. Jesus was in the temple. He was listening and asking questions. I'm not exactly certain about this. I'm sure some of you might be that have been here longer than I am, but we put candles in the windows at the birth window and then in the Three King window over there. And just because I like symmetry in our church, it's in the resurrection window and the Pentecost window. But the window that's next to the Three King window, I think it's the window where Jesus is in the temple. Jesus looks like a little younger, doesn't have a beard, and there's guys kind of around him. So I think it's a beautiful representation of this feast that we celebrate here, that what we do here needs to be modeled back in our homes, and what we do in our homes needs to be modeled back in our churches, because we are a family who needs to practice our faith no matter where we are, no matter who we're with, and no matter what vocation we have grasped a hold of. All holy ones. Being a child of God is the first bedrock vocation that we have, and the other vocation sacraments are built upon it. The family who is open to transcendent values becomes the primary and most excellent seedbed of vocations. Our call ourselves to be a holy family of faith, hope, and love. So as we celebrate this feast day today, I've preached this in other days like this where we're celebrating the Holy Family, is that please do not confuse holiness with perfection. Being holy doesn't mean that we're perfect. We're all redeemed sinners, myself included. What makes a person holy is that we trust in God no matter what's happening in our lives, no matter who we're with, the circumstance we find ourselves in, just like Jesus, Mary, and Joseph did. So may we be open today to our own personal calls of holiness, fostered in our families, even if we're grandparents, what an important role that is as well, so that together we might be the holy family of God, chosen by Christ to love and to serve him always, because we are called to be like Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, a holy family.